Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Waiting to rise again.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Quirks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the moment you've all been waiting for.
Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Raising Cane studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Raising Cane studio downtown in the capital city on this Friday. Means we're brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp. Working towards a weekend. I hope that work week's in the rearview mirror. If not, we'll get you there on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Jordan Kitchens and Braxton Rizzuto back there on the ones and twos, and we will do plenty over the next couple of hours. He's Schroyer, Associate Athletic Director, sat down with Matt Discona yesterday to talk about LSU's basketball team and whether or not they're eligible to play. Also confirmed a couple things with the schedule, so we'll revisit some quotes from that yesterday. Want to get into the weekend to come as far as super regionals. We'll do that in the second hour. There's a Saints player we have not spent time talking about really at all over the course of his year with the team. I'd like to do that in the second hour because we haven't. Preston Guy will be here in 15 minutes talking Tiger football. We'll touch on some recruiting with Preston as we always do on Fridays. For right now, though, we've got some good news over the last, call it 14 hours. Let's talk about it in our opening drive.
Welcome to the big league.
It's time for Hunt's Opening Drive. Presented by Fabry Chevrolet GMC in St. Francisville.
I'll paint this picture for you. It's a really nice one. You'll really appreciate it on this Friday afternoon. Yesterday, I got the kids to bed, went out into the living room. I was watching the Cubs. My wife and I watched an episode of Your Friends and Neighbors, and it was time to go to bed. So I went back into the bathroom. I brushed the teeth, got in bed, put the old CPAP machine on, and I fired up my phone real quick just to set the alarm and check anything right before I went to bed, and bam, Landon Hood commits. And so I took my CPAP machine off, and Alyssa looked at me and she goes, "What are you doing?" I said, "LSU's got a baseball commit. See you in 20 minutes. And I had to go write the story for LouisianaSports.net. So I had already gotten under the covers. But you know what? Nothing fires me up like getting a new baseball player, right? At 10 o'clock at night. So let's go write the story and let's talk about it now. Landon Hood, the first commitment to LSU baseball from the transfer portal, he comes by way of Gonzaga. We talked about Landon Hood yesterday, so it's not as if this is a brand new name for you, but he is a brand new Tiger. And I do believe this is the type of addition that I was looking for. And look, it's very possible that next year in the season opening series at Alec Box Stadium, whoever LSU is playing, that it's Kason Evans, William Schmidt, and Cooper Moore. What I would be uncomfortable with, if that were the case, is if I didn't feel LSU had added some competition to that mix. I fully believe that Kason Evans and William Schmidt and Cooper Moore are capable SEC weekend pitchers. They did not pitch that way much of the season this past year. They were certainly not dominant for any consistent stretch at all. Cooper Moore missed a lot of the year with the injury. Kason Evans got sidelined late. William Schmidt missed his last two starts. But they're talented. They've got some upside. They've shown some flashes. I need competition. And Landon Hood immediately adds that competition. This is a 6'3", 200-pound right-hander who has huge strikeout numbers, both from high school, where he had a ridiculous senior year, which, again, it's high school. I don't want to make too big a deal out of it. But look, you strike out 138 guys against 10 walks in a season. That's pretty good stuff. And then this past year, he was the West Coast Conference Freshman of the Year through 54 1/3 innings over 16 appearances. Made 4 starts, but was mainly used in 14 appearances out of the bullpen for extended stretches. He did a lot of the Zach Cowan role from last year and 2 years ago, a lot of the Kason Evans from 2025, a lot of the Griffin Herring from 2024. He came in, he slammed doors over the course of 9-10 outs. That's what Landon Hood mainly did. This is a guy that has really exciting upside. He is up to 97 with the fastball, consistently 95, 96. If you feel like Anthony Ianson, like Cade Anderson, like William Schmidt, like a lot of pitchers in LSU's program, he's got, from his freshman to his sophomore year, 2 miles an hour. And you're talking about a guy that's going to be pitching at 96, 97 miles an hour. That's real stuff. And the best part about that is that the 97-mile-an-hour fastball is not his best pitch. His best pitch is my favorite pitch in baseball, the straight change. It is a devastating pitch from the right-handed pitcher. He gets swings and misses on it consistently. It is an out pitch. It is a pitch he's got good feel for, and it makes his fastball even play up, and that's why he gets as many strikeouts as he does. Kendall Rogers had a great tweet. His whiff percentage on the fastball is over 50%. That is really strong. There is no better indicator of a dominant pitcher than fastball whiff rate. If you get guys to miss on fastballs, that means one of two things and maybe both together. That means guys aren't comfortable enough to dig in and look fastball, and or your fastball has so much life to it that even if they are looking for it, they don't get to it. That's the mark of a really good pitcher. Most pitchers can get big whiff rates with their breaking balls. That's what the breaking ball is designed to do. And he does get a lot of swings and misses with the breaking ball and with the changeup. But when you can get guys to swing and miss at the fastball, you've really got something. And Landon Hood does that. This is a guy who's got a relationship. Jay Johnson's got a relationship with his home area, which is the Chandler, Surprise, Arizona area, just south of Phoenix. Goodyear is where he's listed as from on Gonzaga's website, Canyon View High School. And he is a guy that's got a lot of promise and a guy that I believe absolutely comes in the fall ready to compete for a weekend starting role. And I have said this multiple times. I think if LSU is the best that it can be next year, there's a possibility. I wouldn't say likelihood, or it's not mandatory, but I think there's a possibility that if LSU is the best they can be next year, either Kason Evans or William Schmidt is in the back end of the bullpen. I think that's a real possibility. And I would put Marcos Paz probably in that discussion as well. And Landon Hood's a guy that could do that. Now, Hood may come in and be the Griffin Herring role. He may come in and be the Kason Evans from 2025 role. He's already done that. He's proven that he's got that kind of durability, that 50 to 60 pitch dominant stretch in him, and that may be what they ask him to do. But Hood is a big-time addition to this team. And there's been two, and I'm going to talk about Dawson Park right now, and then I'm going to pair the two together when you talk about guys from a little bit lower level, which Gonzaga and Texas State certainly are. But there's something I want to add at the end of this, so stick with me. Dawson Park is the second addition that LSU got this morning. And he comes from Texas State. He just finished his sophomore season with the Bobcats, and he has started for 2 years there at Texas State. Last year as a freshman, he started 45 games for them as their primary second baseman, DH'd a little bit. Did not have a great offensive season, just 219 as a freshman. And he only slugged 287, only had 6 extra base hits on the season, 2 homers and 4 doubles. His on-base percentage was minuscule at .330. Did not swing the bat very well as a freshman. But this past year, as a sophomore, he really blossomed. He hit .301 for them in 48 starts. He hit a team-best 13 home runs. He drove in 52. He stole 9 bases. He got that OPS up. It is over 800 this past year, and he moved to shortstop and played there. And so the numbers aren't going to blow you away. 301 at Texas State is not going to blow you away. But there is an aspect to this that is important with Dawson Park. He is an exceptional athlete. He has a highlight package on the defense side of the ball. He makes plays ranging to his left. He's got a great arm. He profiles as a shortstop. He is a very, very good athlete. And that is the difference between what LSU brought in last year and what LSU is looking for from its infielders and outfielders this year. If you look at the 4 transfers that LSU brought in, I don't mean to keep harping on this, but I am covering the team. I have to go through it. Like Trent Carraway, Seth Dardar, Braden Simpson, and Zach York are not great athletes. They had great offensive profiles at various levels. Carraway was the California Player of the Year as a senior in high school. York's Grand Canyon's all-time leading home run hitter. Simpson hit .390 with 22 homers at High Point. Dardar was a really good player in the Ivy League and swung the bat very well in the Big 12, and I think would have swung the bat reasonably well in a full season at LSU if given the opportunity, but he was a platoon guy early and then he got hurt, so you don't really know. But they were bats. Dawson Park swung the bat pretty well for Texas State last year. But even if he does come in and he hits 248 at LSU with 8 home runs instead of 301 with 13 home runs. He will at least be a dynamic athlete in the middle of the field defensively and hit at the bottom of the order. He will run. He will make backhanded plays in the hole. He will show off his arm. He'll help turn double plays. He will be a factor athletically, even if his bat doesn't translate. The thought is his bat will translate, and I'll get into that to tie this all together. But he is a dynamic athlete. And that's the difference in this edition. When you go, well, they tried the small school thing and that didn't work. I understand. This is a little bit different. And so that is an encouraging thing about this edition. Both of these guys, Landon Hood and Dawson Park, both of them are thought of as top 50 prospects in their drafts. Dawson Parks is next year. He will be an eligible junior, as they all are. Landon Hood, who just finished his freshman year, he's got 2 years at LSU. So that's another big positive to bring him into the fold. But these are not just small school players. They're small school players with elite draft profiles. Like Anthony Ianson came to LSU, and he worked out with Team USA. He was thought of as a prospect. That's what these guys are. Zach York was never thought of as a prospect. Braden Simpson was not an elite prospect. Neither was Seth Dardar. These guys are. It's just a different profile. I'm not suggesting that they're vastly different performers in the SEC. I got to see it too. I'm right there with you with a little bit of skepticism. But the profile these guys have is really, really good. I'm confident in Dawson Park. I'm very confident in Landon Hood. Just turn Landon Hood's tape on. I talked about him yesterday in the outing against Oklahoma. 3 innings, 7 strikeouts, no hits, no runs. One of the strikeouts was a pitch clock violation. We'll give it to him. But it's 96, 97, elite changeup, good depth on the breaking ball, plus has never had the resources that LSU has. Now he gets into that pitching lab. Now he gets that coaching, that weight training, all of that goes into summer work and fall work. And I think it's reasonable to suggest from his freshman year to his sophomore year, that's a guy who comes in and becomes a guy that throws 97, 98 miles an hour with a really good straight changeup. That is a difference maker in your program, and I believe that to be the case with Landon Hood. As far as Dawson Park goes, and by the way, took my kiddo to the doctor this morning, drove by an office building, Dawson Park. Had a big sign right out front. I'd just written the story about Dawson Park, and then I drove by a sign that said Dawson Park. It's between Bluebonnet and Essen. I'm sure a lot of you have driven by it, but I just chuckled. I was like, that's not even Dawson Park. Dawson Park. It's literally the guy's name. But he is, to me, he's your second baseman if Milam's back. He's the odds-on favorite to be your shortstop if Milam's not. And I think that is a reasonable way to put it. We'll see if there is a freshman or two that gets through the draft. We'll see if there's another addition from the transfer portal. I would love it if they brought in Chris Ramirez from Cal Baptist, and we'll see what they're still working on. But these two additions look really good. I like where LSU's headed. They've gotten some momentum, and look, they're on it right now. They got a head start on this. Jay Johnson had his exit meetings when they got back from Hoover. He was able to set up shop. When that transfer portal opened on Monday, boom, he's able to make phone calls, make Zoom meetings, set visits, get guys into campus, and the commitments will follow. And these are not going to be the last two that come over the course of this weekend. They have had visitors, and they're going to get guys locked in. And so these two are very exciting prospects. You can read about them at louisianasports.net. Over the course of this weekend, I will profile both of these guys in depth and give you my thoughts on them. But to synopsize the entirety of the segment, you're looking at Dawson Park. That's a guy who is an elite athlete, big arm, plus defender, hit for some power at Texas State, can hit the ball the other way, and is going to be at the very least a plus defender for you with a really good profile at the plate. And then you've got Dawson Park. You got Landon Hood, who comes in with big stuff from Gonzaga. Last thing, I do have to mention this because I got questions about it. There is a bit of a dark cloud's too strong a term, but I'll just get into it. Dawson Park was Texas State's leader in home runs and RBI in the beginning of May. They played a game. After the game, he got into an altercation with a teammate. I don't have enough details to go further than that, but he never played for Texas State again. I don't know if that was the coach's decision. I don't know if that was Park's decision. I don't know if that was a mutual decision. I don't know what the altercation was over. It's certainly something worth noting that this is a guy who got into a physical altercation with a teammate after a game and was no longer with the team. That is something we absolutely have to mention. I did some reaching out earlier this morning to try to get some details on the situation. I came up empty. I tried. I don't have great details. I don't have a lot of sources in San Marcos, but I did send 2 texts out. So if I hear something, I will certainly report on that. If I hear something, I'll write it at louisianasports.net in my breakdown of Park. But it's something I need to bring to the forefront here as we wrap the segment. But I believe 2 very good additions for Jay Johnson, the LSU baseball program, as they get things off and running here in the portal cycle 2026. We're off and running here on a Friday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. We're brought to you by Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Let's talk to Preston Guy next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. Don't take that for granted. 3 decades remodeling, redesigning bathrooms and closets. So if you've got an issue with your bathtub, whether it's old, it's dingy and doesn't function properly, you're not sure why it's not working, don't just call the handy guy down the street and hand him some cash. Call the company that's been doing this for 30 years to come in and handle it professionally. Whether it's a tub-to-shower conversion, it's installing a new tub, whatever the case may be, David Duvall and One Bath and Closets can do it. They can transform your bathroom. They can customize it to your specifications and certainly make it look beautiful. They're not going to rush through it to get to the next job. They're going to do it right the first time and leave the competition behind. If you're looking for financing options, they've got them. 0% up to 18 months. That is same as cash. Get that free consultation today. It's David Duvall and One Bath and Closets. You can find them online at onebathandclosets.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp.
Take this time to remind you about Swing Easy Golf Club in Baton Rouge. SwingEasyGCBR.com is that website, SwingEasyGCBR.com. Looking to work on your golf game this weekend? Don't want to deal with the heat or the rain? You don't have to. Go into Swing Easy Golf Club. They got a great facility there. You can see where your club face impacts the ball. Got great slow-mo replays. You can see your carry distance, trajectory of all your shots. You can crank some tunes while you're in there. Watch some postseason baseball on the TV. Bring some friends. Hang out at Swing Easy Golf Club. You're looking to knock a few back this weekend. They got them right there in the refrigerator at the entrance door at Swing Easy Golf Club. A great place to hang out, a great place to work on your game. No matter what the weather is over the course of the weekend, you're looking to play a little golf, check them out at Swing Easy Golf Club. They're on Seagan at Perkins. Swing Easy Golf Club, online, swingeasygcbr.com. All right, let's talk some football. Preston Guy, TigerBait.com, joins us on Fridays. He's here now with the Jim's Firearm Hotline. Preston, how are you?
Hi, how's it going? Nice to talk to you.
It's going quite well. Pleasure's all mine. What'd you learn over the weekend in terms of the official visitors that LSU brought in? Obviously, it was a star-studded list. I don't think we anticipated any commitments, but certainly trying to make an impression on a lot of really good players.
Yeah, I maybe expected the 3-star kid from Opelousas, Marquez Davis, to commit. Obviously, LSU's the heavy favorite for him, but there's a lot of big game hunting. Last weekend and even this week, they had Mitchell Turner on campus, who's a high 4-star prospect. I'd say my biggest takeaway is, I was talking with people inside the building for the weekend, and they said it was an incredible weekend for the kids in terms of winning over influence. And, when they talk about just different, that was kind of what they meant, was just, the special impact they had on these kids. Unfortunately, in this day and age, rolling out the red carpet doesn't have the same pizzazz it used to. Now you need to roll out the red carpet and get the finances in line, right? So the big takeaway there is Easton Royal. It really feels like he wants to come to LSU. Local kid, grew up watching Odell Beckham, from New Orleans, an hour out. But I'm not sure that LSU's financial offer to him is quite where Texas is right now. I'm not saying it won't get there, but it does seem like they're going to have to work on that part. But it looks like if it's competitive, LSU's got a really good chance to flip him just based off of what I've seen and heard reading through the grapevine. Jalen Brewster, the number one player in the country, they made a very strong impression on him. We also, Coach O going to work on him, leverage technique, all that fun stuff there. I think LSU is going to be a little more willing to dig into their pocket to get a kid like him, because it's harder to find linemen in the portal than it is to find skill positions, receivers. I mean, they got 12 of them out of the portal this year, and they should be just fine there. So I think those are your two big names you would like to pull in the most, although, there was plenty of other players you would not mind, and they'll have plenty more players this weekend, including the 5-star KJ Green as well.
You lose a 5-star commitment over the course of the week. Jaden Bryant decides he's going to flip to Miami, and then theoretically he's going to shut his recruitment down. That obviously remains to be seen. What kind of impact is that loss to the class?
Yeah, I'm never going to be the guy who's going to sit here and tell you that when you lose a decommitment, it's not a big deal, especially from a 5-star player like that. Yeah, I mean, he's a big hit, but the good news is they can now use those funds that they had committed to him and shift them toward some of these big D-line targets like a Jalen Brewster, like a KJ Green, like a Mitchell Turner, right? So certainly a hit. The interesting part about that was how I think around 1:40 he tweeted, "Go Tigers," right? It's all "Go Tigers" in case you forgot, something to that effect. And then about 5 hours later, we see the Hayes Fawcett he flipped tweet. That might be a new one in my phone.
That's
but this is the way of the era, I guess.
That's recruiting for sure. I'm curious your thoughts. LSU only has 4 commitments in this class right now. There was one time where in a high school recruiting class, you wanted to have an entire roster in a 25-man signing class. I'm curious your thoughts on that and your feeling on LSU just having 4 commitments right now. Do you feel like that the quantity is not as important as long as you get the quality, or do you still feel like you need to get as many high schoolers as you possibly can?
Yeah, I don't know if I meant an entire roster, but maybe an entire starting lineup.
22, sure.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I don't know if that is the case anymore. In fact, I look back at Lane Kiffin's 6 full signing classes at Ole Miss. He signed 82 players. That's an average of about 16 per year. I think that the model we're going to see is you're going to go for a top-heavy 15 kids, right? And then you're going to look for 15 from the portal and retain the kids, try to retain the kids who actually, matter and are giving you input, right? So I think we're looking at a 15 plus 15 model for the foreseeable future. That's my best guess, at least.
This weekend, probably not quite as star-studded as last weekend, but still an important one for the LSU staff. What can you tell us about the next 72 hours on campus?
Yeah, well, and certainly at the 7-on-7 camp, if that's going to go on with the weather, we're still working on the details in the OLDL camp. There's going to be, there's hundreds of kids usually there every summer. So there should be plenty of them. KJ Green is taking an official visit. Kelsey Adams, 4-star offensive tackle out of Atlanta. You got Tate Walden out of Tennessee coming in. There's plenty of guys. It's not the top of the line, big name guys that you had last week. There's no 4 or 5 stars coming, but there is 1 5-star coming and plenty of other quality 4-star players on campus. So Coach O and Lane Kiffin and company will have to get to work.
No question about that. The last player that I wanted to ask you about is from in-state. You're talking about a 5-star and another guy that LSU is going to have to fight off the state of Texas for, and Texas A&M feels like the real struggle is with Albert Simeon from over in Lake Charles with Sam Houston. Spent some time in College Station back over the weekend. How do you feel about where that recruitment is right now?
Yeah, I'm a little concerned about it. Again, I think I've talked about this on the show last week. LSU's best times as a football program has been when you keep your guys home. I think they're recruiting him well. Where I get concerned is he's a little bit of an undersized prospect for his rating, right? I think he's a good 6'2". He's probably listed a little taller, but, usually you would see these 5-star guys, you're not even questioning his height and size. It's like, well, of course the height and size is there, right? So the question with him is the kind of offers based on his star ratings and all that jazz, they're going to be tremendous. They're going to be really, really big. And LSU, Billy Glasscock, their strategy has been do not overextend. Do not overextend. If you're going to pay for a high school player, he needs to be an instant impact. And I'm not so certain that their evaluation of him is can't miss instant impact. I think they look at him as very good, give him a good chunk of money, but we're not breaking the bank and missing out on a kid like a Jalen Brewster overtaking him in. So that's where my concerns come in. I'm not saying LSU's out of it. It's over. I just have a few concerns there. More broadly, that would give me a bit of concern because you've got 3 5-star players in your state right now. Hudson, who's on board, you look like you're in good shape, but he has taken an official visit to Nebraska. I wouldn't freak out about that because, I mean, if you get a free trip to check out a pro football program, I mean, why shouldn't you take that? And then you've got, Easton Royal, who you're fighting for your life for, right? So are you going to miss on 2 out of 3 of the 5 stars in your home state? More so than missing these specific kids, it's about the precedent that it sets. It concerns me, being that this will be their first full-year recruiting class. Is this staff going to do what it takes to lock down the Louisiana talent and keep it home? Because, again, we talk about why LSU is just different. That is what has made LSU just different. It's the local Louisiana talent. It's not been the history, the trophy room, the stadium. I mean, all that's good, but there's other teams with that. It's your local Louisiana talent that has carried you to all those championships in the last 25 years.
Hey, look, I spent 2 weeks in Nebraska last June, so I can't fault Ahmad Hudson for going up to Nebraska for a couple of days in June. No big deal. Preston, we appreciate the time. What you got?
He won't have to worry about running into LSU up there, that's for sure.
He will not, but maybe next year. We're working the portal. We'll see how it goes. Preston, have a great weekend. We'll talk next week.
All right, talk to you soon.
Preston Guy, TigerBait.com, good enough to give us a little bit of time. As you mentioned, big weekend of official visitors over the weekend. They got the camps that are going on, 7-on-7 camps, O-line, D-line camps that are there. So a lot of recruiting activity going on over there on the Ponderosa and in the LSU football operations building. And we'll keep you abreast as anything happens at LouisianaSports.net, and we'll certainly recap all of it coming up on Monday's show. Our Friday show is brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. We'll come back. Matt Moscona was in Lake Charles yesterday, and he spoke with LSU Associate Athletic Director Heath Schroyer, and they talked a little bit about LSU's basketball program, specifically the eligibility concerns with the new recruits that have played professional basketball overseas. I thought that the comments that Heath Schroyer had on the matter were pertinent and interesting, and I'll give my reaction to them, as well as the scheduling that LSU basketball is continuing to get on. We learned LSU's SEC-ACC Challenge opponent yesterday, so we'll get into all of that. 30 minutes to go in hour number 1. Come back with us.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Weekends here. Marucci would love you to go take a tour. Go take a tour at Marucci this weekend. Learn where the official bat of Major League Baseball is made, and it is right here in Baton Rouge. You can take a tour and learn the story of how it went from a backyard shed to making the bats for the best players in the world. You can watch where they make 1,200 bats every single day. Watch where they're crafted, watch where they're stained, and watch where they're shipped off to various places around the country and around the world so the best players can use them. And look, you can also take some hacks in the hitter's house. If you've got a youth baseball player, youth softball player under your roof that wants to take some swings, maybe it's raining this weekend, you can't go out to the field and hit, you can do it at Marucci. If you become a member, key card access 24 hours a day, 7 days a week will get you into the hitter's house. It's an awesome facility. It's an awesome story. It's a gem here in Baton Rouge. So check them out online at MarucciSports.com. Go see them at Marucci.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp.
Friday shows every single week brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Check out that menu, corksfishandshrimp.com. You can check that menu out for various number of reasons. Want to go by and get a late lunch? They got you covered. They got an unbelievable shrimp po' boy. Fantastic stuff over there at Corks. But you can also check it out for catering. If you've got an event coming up, maybe it's a family reunion, celebrating a graduate, even into June here. Maybe you got a birthday party coming up, or you just want to feed the office lunch on a Friday and get some fried shrimp, fried catfish, French fries. They do an amazing job of catering over there at Cork. So just check them out go to the website, check out the catering options they've got there. Give them a call, give them a little time, and they will make sure you've got everything that you need for your catering event. They got the honey butter rolls, they got the beignet bites, and if you go through and maybe dine in, their baked potato that is topped with crawfish etouffee, and then those big jumbo Gulf shrimp on top of that, knock your socks off. It is good stuff over there at Corks. Michael and Paul have been great to us here on the Hunt Palmer Show, and they've done an awesome job with Kuyans across the river. Corks has been a huge success. So go by and see them. Government between Foster and Jefferson. They bring you our Friday shows every single week. Looking up at the scoreboard for the first Super Regional that is in action, West Virginia is up 11-2 on Cal Poly. Cal Poly won the Los Angeles Regional, call it the UCLA Regional, without playing UCLA, okay? They didn't play UCLA. They beat Virginia Tech, and then St. Mary's got through, and they beat them twice. So incredible fortune for Cal Poly to even get through, and even better fortune for West Virginia, who battled tooth and nail with Kentucky last week, and they're just boat racing Cal Poly at this point because Cal Poly's probably not very good. So that's great for West Virginia. I was impressed with their guys last year when we talked to them after a couple of tough losses out in the South Louisiana sunshine on Saturday and then getting beat on Sunday evening. Was LSU went to Omaha, but Steve Sabins is a heck of a coach there at West Virginia. Put them right back in a super regional this year. They're at home. They're gonna walk to Omaha in my estimation. I would be stunned if Cal Poly makes any sort of comeback in the next two games. They're certainly up against it. In this one, they're down 11-2 in the 8th inning. So I think West Virginia is in good shape in game one. 3 more games to go. The nightcap tonight, the SEC action is Ole Miss and Auburn. I'll talk about that coming up here in about 25 minutes. But right now, let's talk some LSU hoops. Matt was over in Lake Charles yesterday for After Further Review. And he sat down for 2 segments with Schroyer, who is LSU's senior deputy athletic director that is really hands-on with the basketball program in Will Wade. That makes a ton of sense. He was the AD at McNeese when they hired Will Wade there. He was the former basketball coach at McNeese. He's a basketball guy. He's going to be in a basketball role here at LSU. It's not the only thing he does in LSU's athletic department, but it's a big part of his job description is handling basketball. And Matt asked about the professional players that LSU is bringing in from Europe and their potential eligibilities. And you look at them, you're talking about 6 guys. 6 guys that LSU has brought in that have that quote-unquote concern with their eligibility after being involved in professional basketball. And here's what Schroyer had to say to Matt on After Further Review. I'll read and I quote. I feel very confident about it, and I know Coach does, meaning Coach Wade. Obviously, it's LSU, and it's Will Wade, but here's an interesting thing. Last year, there were 106 players in college basketball that were 25 years or older. 106. 257 players were 24 or older. If you look at what Illinois did last year, I think they had 6 guys that played overseas at a high level, European basketball, went to the Final Four. Arizona as well had a few. Duke's had one. You're going to take the heat. You're going to take the arrows because you're LSU and your will. North Carolina signed a kid last week that played professionally in Europe. Same thing with South Carolina. So I think there's a narrative out there that probably needs to get told. I'm trying to look at this from 2 different perspectives, okay? One is LSU's case with the NCAA. And that's fairly compelling. To say you had 257 guys that were 24 years and older, what's the deal if our guys are 23, 24 years old? Like, you just had 257 dudes do this. I get it. That was 2025, 26, potentially the last year of COVID, guys. You need a year in there for an injury or somewhere, but like you can get back to COVID if you try. But that's a lot of guys. To suggest that the age is a problem, you're struggling on that leg when you have it that. If it's not like it's 6, it's 257 that were 24 and older. And then I look at this from another perspective. We know Will Wade pretty well, right? We know how tireless he works. We know how meticulous he is with the things that he does. And despite the fact that he was on the phone when the FBI tapped his phone, that's a misstep. We can all agree with that at this point, right? But I'm talking about other stuff. I'm talking about the fact that he charts what legs guys land on at practice to try and prevent knee injuries. I'm talking about the fanatical nature with which he documents everything. Tips during a game. And we know all this kind of stuff, right? You got to be plus this many on baseline out of bounds plays, and 58% of league games come down to the last 4 minutes, and all these kind of things. Do we think, honestly, and this is just me talking, but I'm posing you the question hypothetically as you drive around or work out or listen in whatever manner that you listen. Do we think that Will Wade signed these players and thought in the process, man, these guys are good. I probably got like a 35% chance of getting them eligible, and if I don't really have a backup plan. We'll just kind of figure it out with the 5 other guys that we got, and it might not be a great year one. You think he said that? I think when Will Wade made the decision to get on an airplane and go to Europe to go see Marcio Santos, he knew what the odds were and what his case would be to get Santos eligible. I get it. He stepped out of bounds the first time doing something that was illegal. This is not illegal. It may be disallowed retroactively. They may go, yeah, I know that you signed him, but he can't play. But it's not. Will Wade's not breaking rules. And I thought Schroyer made a decent point. He said, in a quote, here's the other thing people need to understand too. When Will and the staff at LSU were over recruiting young men, they weren't recruiting against themselves, right? There were other schools out there that were recruiting the same kids. I just have a hard time thinking that LSU went over there and Mark Pope of Kentucky went over there with like an 18% chance to get these guys eligible. I'm not here telling you any of this is a slam dunk 100%. I'm telling you that if I'm trying to connect dots and I'm trying to speak on what I know, which is that Will Wade is fanatical about finding advantages he can find, he started to till these seeds with the good understanding that he was going to be able to see them bloom. And so my confidence level that most of these guys are eligible for this year at least is reasonably high. I still have very little hope for RJ Lewis, and I think Jan Madar is a crapshoot. But when I start to look at some of the other guys that LSU is bringing in this class, namely Marcio. He's Brazilian. I'm not sure how you would say that. But Santos, I think they've got a pretty good idea that they're going to be able to get him in. I think they feel pretty good about their case, at least, with the NCAA based on what happened last year and all those numbers that Schroyer brought up. It's just, it's numbers. It's facts. So I carry a guarded optimism about it, but I thought that Schroyer brought up some good points with Matt, and I wrote about it at LouisianaSports.net. If you want to go see those, quotes, you can find Schroyer's quotes there. Last one is talking about the schedule, and Schroyer jokes that I was teasing the other day. I said, we get a few home games here that we can kind of ease in, warm up a little bit. He was joking because, look, you're going to Houston to play, you're going to Gonzaga to play, you're going to Palm Springs to play. These are all against quality programs, and they're away from home. And Schroyer added, it's exciting, and our schedule is going to be very, very daunting, but the SEC is ranked the number 1 basketball league in the country, so in order to get ready for SEC play, you got to have a very challenging preseason, and we're not going to go 12-1, and everybody think it's all going to be inflated. We're going to have a few losses probably, but they're going to be against really good teams, and we're going to have some really good wins, but that's going to prepare you for the gauntlet of the SEC schedule. If you go out and lose at Gonzaga, it's not going to hurt you. You go to Houston and lose to the Cougars, that's not going to hurt you in the long run. And you're going to get really quality minutes on the floor. Now, you win the games, it can help you in a big way. So I think that we talked about it yesterday. There's an exciting element to that. You didn't necessarily get the best straw from the ACC SEC Challenge. LSU is going to play Wake Forest coming up on December 1st in Baton Rouge. Wake Forest is a program that has just been okay the last few years. They've not been a really strong program in some time. They haven't been an unmitigated disaster more often than not. They've been okay, but you're not drawing Duke. You're not drawing UNC. I'm stunned that they did not give LSU NC State. You're talking about a Wake team that was 7-11 in the league last year. They were 18-17 overall. I thought for sure that LSU was going to get NC State. It's just too easy to send Will Wade back up to Tobacco Road. They did not do that. So LSU will play Wake in the PMAC on December 1st, and it's good that they get a non-conference home game because a lot of these games they're playing are going to be away from the PMAC. That's a look at LSU basketball here on this Friday. We're brought to you by Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Come back and close out the hour next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electrical Services. Boudreaux's Electrical Services. They don't call it overplanning at Boudreaux's. They call it foresight. And you've got the sight to know that there are going to be storms in South Louisiana. We've got nasty afternoon showers that come through and, of course, hurricanes as well. Make sure you've got a Generac home standby generator installed at your home so that you don't lose power. Same thing goes for your business. If you can't do business with the power out, well, get a generator put in. Get a couple in if you've got a larger facility. Boudreaux's Electrical Services is happy to do commercial work. Neil and Melissa have been rocking and rolling for 40 years. They're the local option for a Generac home standby generator. Locally delivered, locally maintenanced, locally monitored. That's the difference when you go with Boudreaux's Electrical Services. Give them a call, 985-397-1562. That's 985-397-1562. Or the Gonzales location, 225-300-9389, and get that Generac generator installed before the storm season really picks up. It's Boudreaux's Electrical Services. Find them online at boudreauxelectrical.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp.
Been telling you all week long about the awesome deals at Gotro's Outdoor Power. It's all June long, so you got some time, but make a stop in there over the weekend. Great time to stop in and look at their incredible inventory of zero-turn mowers, whether it's the location right there on Airline in Baton Rouge or, of course, in Gonzales as well. But the entire month of June, it's got incredible deals on Hustlers. The Raptor Series, $200 off. The Fast Track Series, $500 off. And the commercial mowers, up to $1,500 off. Coming up the week of Father's Day, June 15th through the 20th, you're talking about getting those discounted prices as well as no sales tax. In-stock units only, but they got a lot of units in stock. So if you're looking for a zero-turn mower, Hustlers, they got them there at Gotro's Outdoor Power. You can find them at gotrosonline.com. And, of course, you can find them on Airline Highway in Baton Rouge or down in Gonzales. Gotro's been at it for 20 years. Largest Hustler inventory in the state. Go by and see him, my friends, over at Gotro's Outdoor Power. One of the things that we did not talk about yesterday or today, and it's not quite as exciting as the new players coming in, is the exits from LSU, and we found out about one of those yesterday. Ethan Kloss broke that at LouisianaSports.net, is not going to be with the program anymore. And LSU's had a lot of trouble keeping infielders who don't play a lot as true freshmen in the program. Austin Rolig was at LSU a couple of years ago. He went to Utah and was at Arizona State this past year. Mikey Ryan had a really nice year at NC State this past year. Ryan Kucherak moved on from the program. David Hogg was with LSU last year, did not make it to year two in the program. A lot of these guys who come in as infielders have moved on after 1 year in the program. And so that's left LSU a little thin on the infielder front. If Stephen Milam doesn't come back, and that's the feeling that we have is that he won't, he'll sign professionally. You do bring back Jack Ruckert. John Pearson is technically an infielder. And then you go out and get Dawson Park out of the portal. But you're not developing infielders. Like, you develop Milam, and Ruckert's going to hang around for another year. But you would like to have some other guys in the pipeline, and LSU just has not been able to keep those guys around. Yeah, like Kloss didn't play very much. He came in, played 11 games, was 1 for 4 offensively. Of course, made the blunder at Oxford and didn't step on second base when LSU was trying to turn a double play, and that was a big deal, and he didn't really play after that. But is a guy that was a top 50 shortstop in his high school class, was thought of as a really good player from Las Vegas, and came in. He's 6'2". He hits left-handed. He hit a home run in his Northwood League debut a couple weeks ago with the wooden bat. I mean, pretty toolsy player. Not necessarily a guy that I branded as a future star, but you're not keeping these infielders around very long. And that's kind of the nature of the beast with everybody, especially on the baseball side of things. If guys come in and are ready to play as freshmen, Stephen Milam, Derek Curiel, Jake Brown, Case and Evans, like they play. Kader Embiid started a lot of freshman games as a freshman at catcher. But a lot of these guys, if they don't play, move on. And I get asked the question, it's like, hey, is this a deal where LSU said, hey, you might want to move on, or is this a deal where the guys just don't want to be at LSU anymore? I'm not sure. That's not something that I'm going to get told more often than not. But look, Kloss is a talented dude and is going to move on. So you're looking at LSU and you look at their infield situation right now, and you've got Stephen Milam, who's probably gone. You've got a Jack Ruckert, who did not have a great offensive year and is going to get some bats out west in the Oregon-California Summer Ball League. You've got John Pearson, who's a limited defender and a powerful bat, and you go get Dawson Park, and that's great. And we'll see what the high school class does yield out of the draft. But Ethan Kloss coming back would have added some competition and some depth to that. Just not a lot of guys don't really want to add depth and competition. They want to play and be certain they're going to play. And I don't know if Ethan Kloss had that guarantee. And so he'll move on and won't be a part of LSU's baseball program anymore. And that's I think, the fifth transfer out for LSU at this point, mainly on the mound and in the outfield. But there you go. There's an infielder that will not be back at LSU. Ethan Kloss will move on into the transfer portal. Friday show is brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish, and Shrimp. It is 11-2 West Virginia. They are beating Cal Poly in game one of that Super Regional in Morgantown. A lot to come over the course of the day in Super Regional action. And Chapel Hill will be North Carolina and USC. We'll preview that as well as Ole Miss and Auburn in hour number 2. We'll also talk about a Saint that we just haven't spent a lot of time talking about to this point in his Saints career, and I want to do that at 2:15. That's 20 minutes from now. If you missed any of hour number 1, talk about LSU's transfer portal additions, Landon Hood and Dawson Park. Talked LSU football recruiting with Preston Guy. He's Schroyer, talking about LSU basketball. All that, wherever you find your sound, just search Hunt Palmer Show. We'll pause for national headlines and Sports Center. Come back with the last hour of the week. Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Fabry Chevrolet GMC. Online at FabryChevrolet.com. That's FabryChevrolet.com. I know it. You were about to load up at some point in the next 4 or 5 weeks and take that family vacation. You're going to load the kids up. You maybe headed up to the mountains of Tennessee, maybe to go see the grandparents, maybe just along I-10 to go to the beach. If you got the right ride for that, great. If you feel like you may need a new one, Fabry Chevrolet GMC is happy to help you. They're on Highway 61 in St. Francisville. They got GMC Yukons and Denali's ready to roll. They've got your Tahoes and your Suburbans ready to roll. So if you're looking for an SUV to load the family up, whether it's new or pre-owned, they've got them at Fabry Chevrolet GMC. Check out the website, FabryChevrolet.com. You can find the entire inventory there. You can see pictures. You can sort by price. You can sort by mileage. You can sort by make and model and find exactly what it is you're looking for, and they will help you get behind the wheel. It's Fabry Chevrolet GMC. They are online at FabryChevrolet.com.